You know why these Edomite Christians say that what we, the Hebrew Israelites, teach is the most ridiculous, ignorant thing
why?
they've ever heard? It's because no one has ever questioned their religious stance steeped in their white supremacy. And this is why they say that. I'd like to start out by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Dragon, That Old Serpent, the Devil, and Satan. And pretty much there's a gross ignorance going on around the world because these Edomites that are in power have pushed that white supremacy on the world. They've been lying to the world so much that they finally are starting. They really believe, not starting. They really believe that they are the people of the Bible, that they are the Israelites. They really believe that the Heavenly Father and His Son look like them with leprosy. They really believe that they are the people of the Heavenly Father, and they're not. So in this lesson, I would like to touch on a few things dealing with that term, in Revelation, especially in Revelation, about this dragon with the 7 heads and 10 horns, just to touch on that. But before I go there, let's go real quick to the book of Matthew. We have to get something straight. We have to get some understanding here. You have the spiritual realm, and you have the physical realm. The spiritual realm, you have Yahweh, who's the head, Yahweh Shai, who's under him. You have the angels on the right-hand side, and you have the angels on the left-hand side. On the earth, you have the sons of God, which are the righteous, which are the Israelites, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You have the sons of men, which are the other nations. And then you have the sons of the wicked, which are the sons and daughters of Satan, which happen to be you so-called white people, which are known as Edomites in the Bible. All right. So let's go to Matthew chapter 13, verse 38. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. So wherever the Israelites are on the planet Earth, the real Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, these are the good seed, and these are the children of the kingdom. These are the children of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But the tares are the children of the wicked one. So you also have a demon seed or a wicked seed, or evil seed on the planet Earth, which today is living inside of all Edomites. These so-called white people, no matter what they look like, because Esau done mixed himself among different nations, so they look like a lot of them different nations also. But that Edomite spirit that's in them, those are the sons and daughters of the spiritual demon Satan. And there's a gross darkness, when it comes to that, to the certain words such as Satan, such as devil, such as serpent. There's a lot of misconceptions out there and a lot of wrong teachings about that. And this is why they can't get any understanding, because those mysteries were not revealed to them. But now when we go to the book of Revelation 20:1, it says, And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, because he was about to lock somebody up. It says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So they really believe in their mind that this is talking about the actual spiritual demon Satan. Because when they read through the Bible, they read about there was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the devil and his angels, and they really believe that that's talking about the spiritual demon Satan. Now, it is talking about Michael, because Yahweh Shai and Michael, when they come back, or should I say, Yahweh Shai and Michael, when they come back with the angels, they're coming to do war with Esau and with these different nations that are in the military. But it's not going to be a spiritual force against another spiritual force. is going to be a spiritual force, which is Yahweh Shai and the angels, against a physical force, which represents Esau and the other nations. But there is a particular people that represent this dragon. And this is why you have to have understanding on what is spoke, or what does it mean by this dragon, by this serpent, by the devil and Satan. So what we'll do is we'll go to Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, which is dealing with the same dragon that we read of in the book of Revelation 20, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. So this particular dragon, now we know that that's not dealing with the spiritual demon Satan, because the spiritual demon Satan is a man. He could appear on the earth as a man. He's not going to take on, he could take on a form of different beasts and all of that. But this particular beast that is speaking about in the book of Revelation, all throughout Revelation, is a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. And to understand that, you have to go through different precepts in the Bible to get the proper understanding of what this is dealing with. But before we go to the actual understanding, let's go to one more. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, which is the Mediterranean Sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Now, we know that in the scriptures, sometimes the scriptures speak metaphorically, symbolically, and sometimes they speak straightforward. And Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, that he gave us the discernment to be able to decide when it's speaking about something physical and when it's speaking about something spiritual. Now, when we go to the book of Daniel 7:17, this is speaking about another vision that Daniel had, and the vision that Daniel had was given to him in metaphors and symbology. And it says, and the 4 beasts came up from the sea, and 4 beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Now, when the Lord gave Daniel this vision, he didn't really explain the whole vision to him and everything that it meant, but he did. The angel of the Lord did explain to him what these 4 beasts represented. And when we jump to the 17th verse, it says, these great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. So these 4 beasts represented 4 different empires. See? So it breaks it down within the book of Daniel 7 what these beasts are talking about. But now the book of Revelation, which is a bigger book, or should I say it's not a bigger, what it is a bigger book, but it's scattered more throughout the book of Revelation, should I say. See, in Daniel 7, it explains in that same chapter what those beasts are, which were 4 kings, which represent 4 empires. And when we read Revelation, the 12th and the 13th chapter, it speaks about, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Why? Because the name of blasphemy represents that they're saying that they're Yahweh, they're the Most High. They paint themselves as being Yahweh Shai, as they're the Messiah. They paint themselves as being the Israelites. They say that they're the anointed ones, that they're the so-called Christians, or the Mashiachim. So these are all names of blasphemy that they've got upon themselves, acting like if they are the royal people. But now when we go to the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, and the 9th verse, it says, and here is a mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And the mountains in the scriptures represent what? Governments. Sometimes it's talking about actual mountains. Sometimes it's speaking about governments. In this case, it's speaking about governments because it was used in a metaphoric way as the highest point of a particular country or a particular empire on which the woman sitteth. And the woman, as we know, brothers that have studied, the woman is dealing with America, that harlot. It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So we're reading in here that these 7 heads and 10 horns that Michael, Yahweh Shai and Michael and the angels are going to fight against is dealing with who? Is dealing with a particular people, particular empires, because Esau has had more than one empire. The beginning of their empire started with who? With the Greeks. And the last empire that would rule, which would come out of all 7 of them, which is the 8th head, is America. And they're in rulership right now, about to receive the punishment and the judgment. So we know by reading this that this is not talking about a actual beast. We know that it's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan, because it's breaking it down to us of what it is. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. So this 8th beast out of those 7 that came out of those 7 is who? America. And it's going into perdition, meaning into destruction. So when we go back to Revelation 12 and 3, it says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. This represents empires. Now, when we go into the history, we know that during the time when the apostle John was on the island of Patmos and all the other apostles were prophesying, and when Yahushua was on the scene, what empire was in rulership? The Roman Empire. So this represents the actual Roman Empire. But it had a beginning, and it also has an end. And when we go back to Revelation 13 and 2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Now, what does the leopard represent? The leopard represents the beginning of this particular empire, which is known as the Edomite Empire, because that is their nationality. Now, the beginning of it, which was the leopard, when we go back to the book of Daniel 7, the leopard represented who? The leopard represented Alexander the Creep and the Greek Empire. That's what it represented. And the feet, or as the feet of a bear, because the feet of it represent the ending of it, the ending of this empire. And this empire was going to be brought down by who? By the bear. And who does the bear represent today? Russia. So their beginning was with the Greeks. As you hear them say, civilization started with the Greeks. No, your Edomite civilization, as far as you conquering the world, began with Alexander the Creep. All right? And the end of your empire is going to come through Russia. It's going to come also through other allies of America. It's also going to come through other allies of Russia. But Russia is the main spearhead that the Lord is going to use to bring this empire down. Whereas the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Now the mouth represents what? The where they get their marching orders from. And where are they getting their marching orders from? From England. And this is why the Rothschilds, who are the top rich banking family, live in England. All right? Because they're getting their marching orders from there. Now, some people are calling it a conspiracy theory, but it's a fact. It is true. But they won't come out and admit it. But then when you check out the empire and how and what they're ruling, and you follow the money trail, it leads right back to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, and all those rich international banking families. You know, it leads back to the Fortune 500 families who have their corporations spread out throughout the whole planet, what they call the 1%. It says, as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, because the Roman Empire was a very strong empire, you know. And it even tells us that in the book of what? In the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. And eventually, this particular empire, which was in power during the time of the Apostle John, fell. That's why it says, and I saw one of his heads as they were wounded to death. So what empire was ruling when the Apostle John saw this vision? The Roman Empire. And what happened to the Roman Empire in process of time? Right after the Flavian dynasty, they fell. They were wounded, as it were, to death. And his deadly wound was healed. And how was it healed? Because they came back into power during what was called the Renaissance. There's a reason why it was called the Renaissance or the Renaissance. I'm just being a little facetious with it. You know why? Because it was the rebirth The rebirth of what? The rebirth of the Roman Empire, which is the Edomite Empire, coming back into power so that the prophecy of the scriptures could be fulfilled. And all the world wondered after the beast, and everybody's wondering after the beast. And this is why America today is the revival or the resurrection of the ancient Roman Empire. America today would be like Rome, the capital. And then all of those ancient European, so-called European countries are actually the ones that are carrying America on their back. And this is why when we read Revelation 17, it speaks about that the woman rode on the back of the beast. And why is the woman riding on the back of the beast? Because they are being held up by these other European countries of whom she came out of. Because you had 7 major empires of Esau that ruled, beginning with the Greeks. You had the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and you had England. And America came out of England, but she came out of all 7 of them. That's why it calls America the 8th head. Then in Revelation 7, it speaks about America being that little horn. All right. It says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who was able to make war with him? And who can make war with America? Nobody. So this is that revival of that beast. And then when we go back to Revelation, the 12th chapter, right? And we jump down to the, the 7th verse. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against what? The dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels. So now what does this dragon represent? We just read above it in the 3rd verse, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. So we read in the book of Revelation 17 that these 7 heads represented 7 kings or 7 mountains, or upon whom sat 7 kings, meaning you had 7 different empires that ruled from this particular dragon. Why? Because they all stem back to the same individuals. They're all Edomites, and that's the reason why it calls it red. So when we jump to the 7th verse, and there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now, what does it mean by the angels of the dragons? It's talking about their military force, beginning with their planes, their helicopters, so on and so forth. In the movie Saving Private Ryan, they've said it in other places, but in the movie Private Ryan, this guy Tom Hanks, which was a captain, he got injured, and I believe I don't know if he momentarily lost his sight or what happened, but he was messed up. And Matt Damon, he asked him, he said, what are those? Because he heard some engines. So he said, what are those? He said, those are B something, whatever the type of plane that he described it as, which is a military plane. And Tom Hanks said, no, those are angels on our shoulders. Because what is an angel known for? For its power. What are Esau's jets and helicopters and stuff known for? For their power, to be able to save their hide. And this is why they drop bombs. So they're going to, the trust that they have in those chariots, as the scriptures speak about chariots, they're going to trust in those chariots along with their missiles and all their other artillery to fight against the angels, Yahweh Shai and the angels, when they come back. So that's why it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So we know it's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's talking about a group of people that would have different empires in the world today. See? It says, and prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven. So they were cast out of this position. This is why Yahweh Shai said, I saw Satan as lightning fall from heaven. All right. So now let's go to Revelation 17, and let's go up to the, let's see, just bear with me 1 second. Let's go to the 3rd verse. Right? It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet colored beast. full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And here we have that 7 heads and 10 horns again, which represent those 7 empires that today are carrying America on their back. All right, now we're going to go, since we read about Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon and his angels, let's go from there to the book of Revelation chapter 19. And this is why these devils, they'll say, this Hebrew Israelite thing, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. It's the most ridiculous and ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life. You know why? Because no one has ever questioned their position or their stance, their religious stance that is steeped in white supremacy. And this is why they have the audacity to say that. So let's go to Revelation 19 and 16. It says, and he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, which is who? Yahushua. These are his titles, because he's coming down to take all these nations down, beginning with Esau. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourself together unto the supper of the great power, that you may. Now this is dealing with what? With this war that the Lord is coming to bring when he comes back. You know what? Let me start at 11, man, so I could do the chapter some justice, so the justice could come out. Revelation 19:11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he does judge and make war. This is dealing with Yahushua. So in righteousness he's going to judge and make war. So he's coming back to pour his indignation upon these nations, and that's where they're being gathered right now. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his heads were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High. Why? Because he's in the volume of the book. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which is who? The angels, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, because the Lord is coming to bring vengeance upon the earth according to the words of the Most High, Yahweh, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of and wrath of the almighty power, because he's coming to bring the pain. Yahushua is coming to bring the pain. It says, and he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel. So he's coming to make war upon Esau and the other nations, because when we read Isaiah the 63rd chapter, matter of fact, let's get that real quick. We'll just get to the point. Isaiah 63rd chapter. That's one of the very first people he's coming to visit, man. So you're in trouble, Jack. Isaiah 63:1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? And this is the same thing we're reading in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter, or should I say, the 12th chapter, the 19th chapter. The devastation and the destruction of that great red dragon, which is the devil and Satan, so on and so forth. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So he's coming to tread the winepress. He's coming to take Esau down. He's coming to destroy this devil, because he is the one that's in rulership right now. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So when we go back to Revelation 19:17, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls which fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great power, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men. So they're coming to eat the flesh of these military men that Yahushua and the angels are coming to do battle with, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. Because you actually have also cavalry. You know, people do still have Ishmaelites on camelback. You still have people that ride on horses. You know, so it's going to be a great slaughter. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the throne and against his army. So this is talking about The same thing we read in Revelation 12. And it's breaking it down to you that this beast is an actual man. It's actually people. It's actually an empire that has grown big, that fell and came back into power. And they came back into power through who? Through America. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, which is the Roman Catholic Church, that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. So this is going to be the final devastation and destruction for these people, for what they did to the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Al Shai, and breaking his law, his book, blaspheming his book, and also what they did to his people, to us. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh, because this is something that the Lord promised them. So we're reading back. Let's go back to Revelation 20:2. And he laid hold on the dragon, which we read who this dragon is. It represents empires. And in this case, at that time, it was dealing with the Roman Empire, but the dragon represents the whole structure that had 7 heads and 10 horns. That old serpent, why? Because they were the deceiving or sly, conniving, lowlife person in the garden who the Lord called a serpent, which is the devil, because the word devil is slanderer or deceiver, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, when we look up the word Satan, right, it comes from the Greek, right, Satanas, which that's also the way you say it in Spanish, right? Adversary, one who opposes another in purpose or act. The name given to the prince of evil spirits, because you do have a spiritual demon, Satan, but you also have a physical counterpart. The inveterate adversary of God and the anointed. And the only thing this could be speaking about is Esau, because Satan himself, the spiritual demon Satan, is in total harmony and in total subjection to the Most High and Yahweh Shai. All right, and this is where the confusion comes in. So now, when we go to the root word of Satanas, it goes to the root Satan, which is adversary, right? So on and so forth. But then it goes to the Hebrew origin of what? Shatan. It goes to the Hebrew origin of Shatan, which means adversary, one who withstands. Adversary in general, personal or rational, superhuman adversary, Satan. So this is an adversary, one who withstands. And who withstands the Most High more than Esau? Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High, or that it sits in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Who did that? By process of elimination, the so-called white men, which are the Edomites. So they are the main adversaries of the Lord. And you can have many different, you can have adversaries among Israel, you can have adversaries among the nations, and you could also have adversaries among Esau. And when we look up this word Satan, Shatan, when we go to the book of, let's go real quick to the book of Job, the 1st chapter, and the 6th verse, it says, now there was a day when the sons of the Most High came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Why? Because Satan is a son of the Lord. Them spiritual demons on the left-hand side, those are also sons of the Lord, this which the Most High created. Did not he say, I created evil? So when we look this word up, Satan, what do we have? Shatan, the same word we read, which is what? Adversary. All right, and it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So the point is, this is dealing with the spiritual demon, Satan. All right. Now let's go from there to the book of Psalms 106. And let's see, Psalms 106 and, I'm sorry, 109. Let me just hit it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Psalms 109 and 6. It says, set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. This is dealing with Judas Iscariot, but also anyone that goes against the Lord. Let the spiritual demon Satan stand on his right hand, so that he won't be able to do righteousness. All right. Now let's go from there to Zechariah chapter 3 and 1. And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. This is dealing with the actual spiritual demon Satan. Now when we go, and it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuked thee, O Satan. Even the Lord that have chosen Jerusalem rebuked thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Because Satan was there to cause Joshua to go off, the high priest, but eventually the Lord was going to clean Joshua back up. So that was the actual spiritual demon Satan that was there. And when we look up the word Satan again, what do we have? Shaitan, which is the adversary. Now, when we go to 1 Kings 11 and 14, it says, and the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. Now let's see what it says there for the word adversary for the Edomite. It says, and the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. And what do we have there? Shaitan. So this, in the book of Revelation, when it speaks about the devil and Satan, it speaks about the great red dragon, which is that old serpent. That's all talking about the Edomites, which are the main adversaries to the Lord. And this is why the Lord says that let righteousness let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. So they are the main adversaries of the Lord. And all you have to do is look at their works. They say one thing, but their works say something different. Their works do not match what they say. So these are the adversaries. And this is the reason why you have them Edomite Christians that say that the Hebrew what we teach the Hebrew Israelites is the most ridiculous and the most ignorant thing that they've ever heard in their life. Why? Because no one has ever questioned their religious stance that's steeped in white supremacy. And that's why they say that. And the Bible condemns them. When you break the scriptures down the right way, they see that the Bible condemns them. And before I go, I just want to share with you, brothers, something that I heard that High Priest Ariah had said years ago, that he, I heard him say it himself. I don't think I was there personally, but I believe I heard it on a cassette tape, or VHS. I believe it was a cassette tape. And he said that he was breaking down their 7 heads and 10 horns and the great red dragon to this Edomite that was pretty intelligent. And after High Priest Ariah broke that down, he said somebody should burn that Bible. That Edomite said that somebody should burn that Bible. Because he actually saw how the Spirit had High Priest Ariah break that down, that was speaking about. You see? So these devils, they know. But that's why they'll make ridiculous statements like that. That this is the most ridiculous thing. Because when something is true, they have to say something to dismiss it. And seeing that Esau is in control right now, he quickly dismisses everything. Because especially if it questions his authority. And the truth, this Bible questions his authority, because he is not the people of the Lord. He is not the Most High. He is not Yahushua. He is not the angels. He is not the Israelites. He's nothing more than the Edomites or the devil that the Bible speaks of. Bottom line. So you see that, so this is speaking about these devils. And he laid hold on the dragon, the so-called white man, the Edomites, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And that happened in the history because it was prophesied. And it said, and cast him into the bottomless pit, which was Europe, and shut him up and set a seal upon him so that they couldn't deceive anybody anymore. That he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And when he was loosed that little season, he was shut up. A seal was set upon him. He couldn't deceive anymore. And as soon as he was let loose out of his prison sentence, what did he do? Verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth. And that's exactly what they did through the Renaissance. And since the inception of America, once they got into power, and became a superpower, what are they doing? Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And that's what they're doing. They're amassing these armies over there because they're trying to create such chaos to where they're scared the people to accept a one world government, a one world order under their terms. You see? So this is why that them Edomite Christians will jump up and say that this is the most, the Hebrew Israelites, what they teach is the most ridiculous and ignorant thing that I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, because no one has ever questioned you on your your religious stance on steeped in white supremacy. And that's why they would say something like that. So with that, it was just a little something I wanted to do through the spirit, so I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say shalom. Down there, who was that was speaking about? You see? So these devils, they know. But that's why they'll make ridiculous statements like that. That this is the most ridiculous thing. Because when something is true, they have to say something to dismiss it. And seeing that Esau is in control right now, he quickly dismisses everything. Because especially if it questions his authority.